Hey everybody, I'm Alex, normally from Alex and Autos, but today I am out here for my good friend Roman taking a look at the 2022 Civic hatch. So of course I need to rebrand myself. If you haven't checked out TFL's latest merch, then be sure and head over to their merch store because I'm a little jealous of their merch. But back to the Civic hatch. This is the all-new 2022 Civic hatch, and you will probably notice that it looks an awful lot like this 2022 Civic sedan over here. And that is because the hatchback is nearly identical to the sedan from about the rear doors forward. We get exactly the same headlights, basically the same lower bumper, but we get a very slightly meaner and more chiseled variant of the Honda grille right up front. The grille right here itself is a little bit different, and then this body colored section is just a little bit pointier. But we're here to talk about the hatchback, so let's move towards the rear. We still have 4 doors, just like we had before, and these are 4 exactly the same doors as the sedan. So the roofline doesn't really change from this point forward. From the doors rearward, however, we get slightly different rear windows, and then we still have a very, very horizontal hatch here. This really is more of a liftback or a sportback than a hatchback. As you can see, it has just one section of glass, so no funky secondary glass going on right back there. And they've certainly gone for more of a refined, more of an elegant look. This reminds me a lot of the Accord Cross Tour, I have to say, or perhaps a BMW GT, something along the 5 Series GT, just in terms of its overall shape. We have LED tail lamps, but these are not full LED tail lamps. We do have incandescent bulbs for the turn signals and the backup lights, but back down here at the bottom of the bumper, we have some really cool touches. We actually have integrated exhaust rather than the hidden exhaust that we find in the Civic sedan.
Welcome to Bronco Week. This is something really special. Every day this week, we're going to have a new video out about the hottest vehicle of the year, the new Ford Bronco. That is not the new one, that is the old one, the new Ford Bronco. So you're going to want to stay tuned for a lot more coverage.
For this generation, the cargo area has become a little bit wider. The opening is about 1.5 inches wider than it was before, making it easier to put those Home Depot barbecues in here. But the cargo area itself is a little bit smaller in terms of cubic feet of capacity, just under 25 cubic feet. We still have a temporary spare tire, which is a nice touch there. And this cargo area still has a little bit of a bump up right back there towards the rear. This has a fully independent suspension in the Civic, so we don't have kind of the same sort of space-saving measures that we see in some subcompact crossovers. There's still a tonneau cover for that cargo area, but it rolls from one side to the other, and you can detach it from the cargo area if you really want to. Hopping into the rear, we still have basically the same dimensions that we find in the Civic sedan, for better or for worse. So this is not going to be as boxy or as practical as something like a Volkswagen Golf, but Honda was certainly going for a sleeker, sexier look, and likely better fuel economy as well. Back here in the rear, if I go ahead and close this door, this front seat was comfortably adjusted for someone that was sitting in the vehicle. They weren't me. I would have been a little bit closer to the dashboard, I think. But headroom is a little bit more limited than you might think because of the sedan-like profile on the roof, or the coupe-like profile, whatever Honda wants to call it. If I try and put my head back here to the headrests, I do have to kind of crane it to one side in order to do that. We have a 60/40 folding rear seat design. It's pretty practical. You can fold that right from here inside the passenger area. On the inside, we find basically the same interior that we find in the Civic sedan. We find the same available 10.25 inch instrument cluster right there. That's a really unique touch in this segment, especially for the price tag that's probably going to be happening on the Civic hatch. New steering wheel, paddle shifters on the back, although I think paddle shifters on a car with a CVT are about as useful as paddle shifters on a Poodle. Over here on this side, we find a 7-inch or a 9-inch touchscreen infotainment system. This is running the same software that we see in the Honda Accord. Wireless CarPlay is now supported. We have this really distinctive large air vent that runs from one side of the dash onto the other. I love the look of this design, but I do wonder how easy it's going to be to clean right there inside that honeycomb section of the dash. The air vents are just on the outside of that section, so over here in the middle, and then on that far passenger side, nothing is going on in the middle in terms of air coming out. We have new door panels with more premium materials than we found before. New seat designs. These don't have power lumbar support for the driver, even in the top-end trim. I do think that's kind of an odd omission. In the center console, there's a Qi wireless charging mat, a pretty traditional console shifter, no hunt and peck shifter design, 2 large cup holders, and this entire center console got more traditional in design. There's a decently sized storage area right there, but we don't have that flip and fold and tumble and slide cup holder thing that we had before. At least for the moment, the hatchback is going to be available with two engines, a 2-liter 4-cylinder naturally aspirated engine producing 158 horsepower and 138 pound-feet of torque. That power figure is pretty similar to most of the competition. Then we get this engine right here. This is a 1.5-liter turbo producing 180 horsepower and 177 pound-feet of torque. This has been tweaked slightly versus the outgoing 1.5-liter turbo, and you'll find that one in the EXL and the Sport Touring trims only. One big difference between the hatchback over here and the sedan on this side is that the sedan is available only with continuously variable automatic transmissions, and the hatch is going to be available with a 6-speed manual, not just on the 1.5-liter turbo, but also with the base 2-liter engine. Honda has not released official fuel economy numbers just yet, but you can expect pretty similar numbers out of the hatch and the sedan since the design is so common. The sedan currently runs between 33 and 36 miles per gallon. If you want to get your hands on a Civic hatch, these should be on dealer lots sometime later in 2021. But unfortunately, Honda has not said how much they're going to cost just yet. The Civic sedan over there in silver, it runs from just under $22,000 to just under $29,000. You can expect that this is going to be a little bit more expensive. Typically, we see a bit of a price premium on hatches because of the increased practicality and the fact that they don't sell quite as many of them. But on the other hand, we're going to get a lot more cargo practicality. Back here, we find nearly double the cargo space than we find in the Civic sedan for really not that much more money. Aside from all-wheel drive, this is going to be much more practical than the average subcompact crossover, and the Civic hatch is likely going to be in a very similar price window to a decent number of subcompact vehicles. Something like Honda's own HR-V or the new Toyota Corolla Cross, they're going to be right in this same price range. They may offer all-wheel drive, but they're not going to offer the same kind of cargo practicality, especially width across the rear, comfort on the inside, and handling ability. The top end trims of the Civic get 235 with tires, which is pretty impressive. Now, I have driven this Civic sedan right here next to it, and I can say that this drives really, really well. This is one of the best driving compact sedans available in America, and I expect that that is all going to translate right down here to the Civic. Of course, if you want to wait, or you can wait, there are going to be more powerful versions of the Civic coming soon. Honda has not been horribly specific on exactly what's coming down the pipeline, but you can bet that either in the hatch or the sedan, we're going to get a Civic Si and a Civic Type R at some point. If you want to know more about the Civic sedan or the Civic hatch, be sure and hit that subscribe button down there at the bottom of your screen, or as Roman would like to say, mash that subscribe button so you can be updated on all of the latest TFL news, reviews, and more. You can also check out TFL Truck, TFLnow, all those other TFL places, but you will find this review most likely on TFL Car when they can get their hands on it out in Denver. Roman, I'm glad that I was able to get my hands on it first. It's a competition now. Let's see what you can get your hands on first. See all of you later, and if you want to see me, you can head over to alexonautos.com. I'll see all of you later.